Alright everyone, we start off today talking about some polling analysis here because as of the other day, we finally got a new poll from California. So for every state for which there has been relatively recent polling, Donald Trump now leads by double digits in the GOP primary. I mean, I would declare it insurmountable. There is always the chance of a dark horse out of nowhere. Trump dies. Of course, he is 73, or 74, so there's a possibility, or he is incapacitated. More likely to happen to Joe Biden because Trump doesn't appear to have any underlying health issues like Joey does, but, you know, it is always a possibility. I look at Feinstein. She's practically ghoulified, although she's pushing 90 at the moment, so it's kind of apples to oranges. We will be addressing the elephant in the room of Dianne Feinstein again later because it's beginning to get ridiculous. Like, it's beyond, at this point, it's beyond even like, haha, you know, the Democratic Party doesn't know what it's doing ridiculous. It's more like literal elder abuse. Not in the joking way like Joe being elder abused, but as in somebody is deliberately keeping her there, probably to protect Adam Schiff. Anyway, as far as the polling goes, link in the description. This is for the latest California primary polling. At 4 points in 4 states, DeSantis has been ahead. And as far as the polling goes, it's always been either Trump or DeSantis in both general and in every state. Nobody else has a shot at this point. The gate is closed. Pence getting in won't change the math other than maybe draining a couple points from DeSantis. Christie is probably reluctant to get in since DeSantis is in. The field is basically ironclad. It is now Trump v. DeSantis. Everyone else is a distraction. They do not have a chance. There's too much core support behind MAGA, which Trump and DeSantis share. Trump shares the lion's share of it, the Big Don share, and DeSantis has the disaffected with Trump but still like his policies crowd, plus some of the moderate conservative group. So that's basically the Republican Party. There isn't a whole lot of leeway for anyone else. Nobody wants Christie. Nobody wants Asa Hutchinson. He doesn't even crack 1 point in some of the polling. So looking at this, DeSantis has been ahead in a few polls in New Hampshire, which is an important one, Iowa, his home state of Florida, and then also an early California poll. That was back, I think, in February. That has gone away. What DeSantis' problem is that he waited too long to get in. He waffled on getting in. His reaction to some of the biggest political news in U.S. history, which was the indictment of a former president, came with him attacking his opponent at exactly the wrong time. Go ahead and insult Trump all you want, but that wasn't the time in the context to do it. It rankled people. It really did. It just came off as wrong to a lot of Republican voters, and I'm sure a significant number of independents too. That polling is 50-50 on whether they support the indictment, basically. Then you look at the campaign launch. Early indicators are that DeSantis did not even get a bump from what traditionally you get a bump from if you have viability. Nobody cared when Nikki Haley jumped in. Nobody cared when Vivek Ramaswamy jumped in. His big hits have been debating people, which he is good at, by the way. It's kind of sad that Trump is probably not going to be on a debate stage in the primaries because I would genuinely enjoy seeing him and Ramaswamy trading barbs. By the way, there's a possibility Trump reverses his decision and is compelled to debate. That would be one for the ages. It'd be funny. Big Don should consider the possibility. I know that he says, well, I'm basically the incumbent. I don't have to debate. Okay, but come on, you enjoy it. Donald enjoys the debate. Certainly, he'd love to debate Joey, but we're not sure that those debates will happen. The Democrats are going to use any excuse possible not to have Biden on a debate stage. They'll say, well, he doesn't want to appear with a criminal on stage. They'll jail Trump before the debates are scheduled to happen or something crazy like that. They are amping up to do shenanigans in 24. I would point out, by the way, the one big spoiler for the Republicans here, whether it's Trump or DeSantis, because it will be one of them. The big problem for them is that because they're barbing each other and not doing what the Dems are doing and having effectively a cleared field where Biden ignores his opponents because they're irrelevant, the Democrats right now are focusing on ballot harvesting. They're not waiting for the general election. The GOP needs to get in movement to do that. Now, Trump's team is involved with ballot harvesting, knocking on doors, it's registering people, etc. There are certainly some very effective activists like Scott Presler doing the same thing. I don't see any indicator that DeSantis' team is really doing that other than on its own behalf. As far as the national level goes, it's not doing anything. The other candidates aren't doing it. That sets off alarm bells for me because you could enter a general election with a sufficient deficit in the number of people that you've gotten interested in the race at all and or registered to vote. You could have a deficit of hundreds of thousands or millions of votes. In such a case, it doesn't matter who wins because they lose the general election. By the way, that's the only way in which I think Trump feasibly loses against Joe Biden during a recession, which we are likely to be in. Even DeSantis, mistakes as though he tends to be making here, would at least stand a chance, but you have to actually harvest the ballots first. You have to actually have an on-the-ground game. That's the biggest warning that I can give to the GOP candidates. You might want to take a break on your inter-party civil war right now and go and sign people up to vote, generally speaking. You can pitch your candidate at the same time that you're handing them a registration form. You can say, oh yeah, you can register to vote. By the way, have you heard of this wonderful man called Ron DeSantis? Yeah, you can do that. It's perfectly fine. So, get your ass in gear. Go knock on doors or something, because the Dems they've already begun. And they're specifically targeting states that are on the edge. So New Hampshire and Iowa and places like that. They're also going all in on Florida because they're looking at a situation where if Trump's elected, he may have burned enough bridges with Ron DeSantis to not get an endorsement and loses Florida. DeSantis could suffer the same fate if Big Don decides to hold out, or especially run as a third-party candidate, absolutely causing fucking chaos, which is also a measurable possibility. As far as the primaries go, though, I consider them effectively over already. Joe Biden, barring a health disaster, is almost certain to be the Dem nominee. He would have to croak or be incapacitated by a stroke or something. So you know who the Dem candidate almost certainly is, barring an act of God. Even if the economy slumped into a depression, there wouldn't be enough time probably for the Dems to run anyone against him. RFK Jr. is at 20 points. Marianne Williamson barely breaks 10 on a good day. On the Republican side, Trump is now ahead by a significant margin in every single state, including the home state of his rival. If Ron DeSantis can't show that he can maintain at least a 50-50 in his own home state where he is relatively popular, the race is effectively over. Again, barring some health calamity, Donald Trump literally being in a jail cell might make him more popular among the GOP base. If that happens, again, we're going into completely untested waters right now with literally everything that's transpired over the last couple of years since the 2020 election. So we don't know exactly where we go from there. What we do know, though, is that Big Don's polling numbers are big, which is predictable. He's a quasi-incumbent. He was a popular president and still is in party. The TDS movement is no more pronounced now than it was before. There are people who simply don't think that he's as electable as he was in 2020. They've been conned into believing he can't win, so they're trying to find another candidate. Doesn't mean they won't vote for Trump in the end, though, because they like his policies. Not surprising, since he gave broad tax relief to 90% of the population and oversaw an economy that actually worked. We haven't seen that in a few years now, have we? Look at those gas prices. They take credit for them coming down by a whole $1 so far this year, only to even out at a level that's still about 30 cents higher than it was when Joe Biden took office. Yes, people are not hurting. And that doesn't trickle down to the price of any other goods and services, by the way. So yeah, looking at the polls, in my opinion at this particular time, barring a massive sea change, some major disaster health-wise, or maybe the outbreak of World War III or something, we basically know who's going to be running against each other. It'll be a Biden-Trump rematch, almost certainly. This could change over the next year. I'm not seeing a high likelihood of that. I would think it'd be more likely that Biden suffers a health issue than any other major change, in which case you could have Kamala 24. That would be, I bet DeSantis would be fighting twice as hard because anyone would win that matchup. Asa Hutchinson would be sucking dicks out behind the dumpster to get enough money to actually have enough viability to be on that Republican campaign. Hey, please bring me aboard as a proxy, as a surrogate of some sort. We can't lose. Be funny to see. That's about all. Peace out.